the foundation you build when everything falls apart. Welcome back to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we empower Black professionals, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to rise, reclaim, and redefine their legacies. I'm your host, Leanne Dolce, pronounced Dulce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And today, I want to share something with you that shook me to my core. I recently sat down with Travy Phillips, a woman whose life is nothing short of a resurrection story. Born in Hunters Point, San Francisco, a neighborhood that doesn't just test you, it forges you in fire, Travy has transformed every single setback into a setup for something greater. She's not just surviving, she's building empires from ashes, creating safe space for healing, and rewriting generational narratives for Black women who've been told their lowest moments disqualify them from their highest callings. Travy is proof that the opposite is true. In her story, it's a blueprint for every single one of us who's ever been counted out. Let me tell you something nobody talks about when it comes to rock bottom. We love a good comeback story in theory. We applaud the highlight reel, the after photo, the moment someone crosses the stage or opens the business or gets the degree. But we rarely talk about the messy middle, the part where you're paralyzed on your left side after being shot with a 350 police special, the part where addiction has stolen your children and scattered them across family members who are doing their best but cannot replace you, the part where you die, clinically die, and your brother brings you back. And you spend 48 hours in surgery getting every major organ repaired, only to walk right back into the same streets that almost killed you. That was Travy Phillips. And if you're sitting here thinking, well, that's not my story, I need you to stay with me because the details might be different, but the lesson, universal. Your pain, whatever shape it takes, is not disqualification, it's preparation. Let me take you back to where it all started. Trevi was the first in her family to integrate a school outside Hunters Point. Imagine being a young Black girl walking into classrooms where the racism wasn't subtle, it was overt, daily, suffocating. And while she's navigating that isolation, that hostility, that constant underestimation, she's also taking college notes for her mother, who's 16 years older than her and trying to build her own life. Travi's balancing high school with caregiving, with survival, with being told every single day that she doesn't belong. And you know what she did? She stayed at the top of her class, not because it was easy, not because anyone believed in her, but because she refused to let anyone else write her story. She graduated high school. She walked across that college stage with her mother. That's generational interruption right there. That's a young woman saying, we're not doing this anymore. We're breaking cycles. We're rewriting the script. But life as it does got harder. Addiction crept in. Crack cocaine became the escape from pressures that were too heavy for anyone to carry alone. And it didn't just take her clarity, it took her children. All four of them split among family members. It took her stability, it took her sense of self. And then one night in Bayview, it almost took her life. She was shot, she died. Her brother brought her back. 48 hours of surgery, every major organ repaired, left side paralyzed, 2 months in a hospital bed, wrestling with God, with herself, with the question we all face when we hit bottom. Is this it? Is this how my story ends? And here's where it gets real. She got out of that hospital and and she relapsed because recovery isn't a straight line. Healing isn't a one time decision, it's a daily, hourly, minute by minute choice to keep showing up for yourself, even when every part of you wants to give up. But then something shifted. Travy entered detox, then an 18-month residential program in Oakland, one specifically for women and children. And this wasn't just about getting clean, this was about rebuilding. Truth circles, accountability, trauma healing, physical therapy for a body that had been paralyzed. emotional reconstruction for a spirit that had been shattered. And she did it. She achieved sobriety. She reunited with all four of her children, and then she went back to work for the same program that saved her life because she understood something profound. She had become the woman she once needed. Now let's pause here because I want you to feel the weight of that. She didn't just survive, she didn't just heal. She turned her pain into purpose. She looked at her lowest moment and said, "This doesn't disqualify me. This equips me." And if that's not the soft girl era, I don't know what is. Because softness isn't about being weak, it's about being wise enough to surrender. It's about releasing the cape, the mask, the need to be strong all the time, and saying, "I need help. I need healing. I need to rebuild." But the story doesn't end there because life, in its infinite complexity, threw another curveball. Travy lost her mother, her best friend, the woman she had walked across that college stage with, the woman who had raised her in the pride and survival ethos of Hunter's Point. And grief, real grief, has a way of either breaking you or refining you. Travy chose refinement. She went back to school, she graduated college. And here's the part that makes me want to stand up and shout. All four of her children graduated college too. From split families to college legacies, from survival mode to generational transformation, that's not luck. That's intentionality. That's a woman who decided her children would not inherit her pain. They would inherit her perseverance. And she didn't stop there. Travy launched a youth program in Antioch, focused on prevention, on giving young people the tools she didn't have. She opened a boutique in San Pablo, creating a space where community could gather, where beauty and healing could coexist. And in November 2026, she's opening a cafe and lounge in Alameda. Full circle from Hunter's Point, from survival to sovereignty, from rock bottom to building safe havens for others. Now, I know some of you are listening and thinking, that's incredible, but what does that have to do with me? Everything. Because Travy's story isn't just about addiction or gun violence or paralysis. It's about the universal truth that your lowest moment does not disqualify you from your highest calling. Maybe your hunter's point is a toxic relationship you finally left. Maybe it's a career that drained you dry. Maybe it's a family expectation you've been carrying like a cape and you're exhausted. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's the quiet, suffocating feeling that you've been strong for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to just be. Here's what I learned from Travy Phillips and what I want you to take with you today. Write this down, tattoo it on your heart, share it with your sister, your daughter, your friend who's barely holding on. First, your pain is prelude to purpose. Trevi balanced high school, her mother's college notes, and caregiving. She rose from paralysis and addiction. Your struggles, whatever they are not stop signs. They're setups, they're the foundation for your comeback. Hold on to that refusal to let life write your ending. Second, surrender builds empires. That 18-month program wasn't a reset, it was reconstruction. Physical, emotional, generational. Travi rebuilt her body, her family, her businesses. Whatever is paralyzing you right now, step into accountability, step into healing. That's where legacies launch. That's where softness becomes strength. Third, grief fuels greatness. Losing her mother could have ended Trevi. Instead, it propelled her. College degrees, youth programs, boutiques, cafes, her children's graduations. Turn your losses into launches. Rewrite your family story. You have that power. And here's the thing about the soft girl era, it's not about aesthetics or trends, it's about spiritual, emotional, and mental recalibration. It's about high achieving Black women, especially those of us between 38 and 55, who have spent years in survival mode, leading teams, raising families, holding down households, carrying communities, and we're exhausted. We're ready to shift from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, peace, softness, and self prioritization. Travy Phillips embodies that shift. She's learning to be soft in a world that taught her survival. She's released the cape, she's redefined strength, she's embracing healing in real time, she's protecting her peace as a practice. And she's turned survival into something sacred, something supportive for others. Think about the young girl who integrated that school, the one who sat in those classrooms where she wasn't wanted, where she was underestimated every single day. She could have internalized that. She could have believed the lies, but instead she stayed at the top of her class. She took notes for her mother. She carried responsibilities that no teenager should have to carry. And she graduated. She walked across that stage. That's not just resilience, that's defiance. That's a refusal to let the world define her worth. And then think about the woman lying in that hospital bed, paralyzed, fresh out of surgery, every major organ repaired. That she could have given up, she could have said that this is too much. I can't do this. But she didn't. She fought her way back. She learned to move again. She learned to breathe again. She learned to live again. And even when she relapsed, even when she stumbled, she didn't stay down. She got back up. She entered that program. She did the work. She showed up for herself and for her children. And then think about the woman who lost her mother, her best friend, the person who had been her anchor. She could have let that grief consume her. She could have let it define the rest of her life. But instead, she channeled it. She went back to school. She graduated college. She watched all four of her children graduate college. She built businesses. She created spaces for healing. She turned her pain into something beautiful. That's what I want you to understand. That's what I want you to carry with you. Your lowest moment is not your final chapter, it's your loudest testimony. It's the foundation you build when everything falls apart. It's the proof that you are stronger than you ever imagined. It's the evidence that you are capable of rising, of rebuilding, of reclaiming your life. Travy Phillips is living proof that you can die and come back, that you can be paralyzed and walk again, that you can lose everything and build empires, that you can grieve and still graduate, that you can be broken and still be whole. And if she can do it, so can you. Not because it's easy, not because the world will cheer you on, but because you deserve softness. You deserve rest. You deserve joy. You deserve to reclaim your identity, not the version shaped by family expectations or church roles or boardroom rules, but the real you that's been waiting to bloom. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, this week. Identify your hunter's point, that rough start, that rock bottom, that moment you thought would end you, and take one surrender step. Enroll in a program, journal your truth, pitch that business idea, reach out for help, set a boundary, say no without guilt, rest without explanation, no more waiting for perfection, no more carrying capes that were never yours to wear. Start building your comeback now. Because your lowest moment is not your final chapter, it's your loudest testimony. Travy Phillips turned interruption into institution. She turned ashes into beauty. She turned survival into sovereignty. And she's making the world a better place. One youth program, one boutique, one cafe, one healed life at a time. And now it's your turn. I want you to look at your life right now. I want you to look at the places where you've been paralyzed, not physically, maybe, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. The places where you've been stuck, the places where you've been told you're not enough, the places where you've internalized the lie that your pain disqualifies you. I want you to reject that lie. I want you to stand up and say, no more. I want you to take that first step toward healing, toward softness, toward reclaiming your life, because you are not a statistic. You are not your trauma. You are not your lowest moment. You are a woman with a testimony. You are a woman with a purpose. You are a woman who is capable of rising, of rebuilding, of rewriting your story. And the world needs you. The world needs your voice. The world needs your story. The world needs the businesses you're going to build, the programs you're going to create, the lives you're going to touch. The world needs you to show up fully, authentically, unapologetically. So let this be your permission slip, your sacred pause, your deep exhale from the superwoman script, your quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. Travy Phillips has shown us what's possible. She's shown us that the foundation you build when everything falls apart can hold an empire. She's shown us that your lowest moment can become your loudest testimony. She's shown us that pain is not disqualification, it's preparation. Now go build your empire. Go write your testimony. Go reclaim your life because you deserve it. And the world is waiting.